In America, there are some things that we pay no attention to because we've grown up with them around us all the time, and they just start to blend in with our surroundings. But once we moved to Germany, we suddenly felt random, strange holes in our everyday lives. So we frantically searched and found specific objects that we did not see anymore, that we never appreciated were so specific to our American culture. And today, we want to share those things.
Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie.
And I'm Aubrey.
And we are two Americans currently living in Germany and sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. Even though there is so much imported German culture in the US and imported US culture in Germany, there are still some things that for one reason or another don't make the trip across the ocean and we saw all the time in the US, but then suddenly disappeared from our lives once we moved to Germany. This list includes some things that we feel like Germans probably don't even know exists, and that is exactly what we want to talk about today in our video. Won't find these in Germany and can't buy here with your money. That's right.
Some of the things we are going to talk about in this video may be more specific to where we are from in the US, a small southern state called Oklahoma, and we have not seen in the southwestern German state of Rhineland-Pfalz where we currently live. Because all of our experiences are limited to where we have actually been and seen, be sure to write all of your experiences with these things in the comments below, or let us know if there are things you know about that you can't find in other countries that you are used to in your home country.
We are going to kick this list off with two things that are not necessarily just specific to Oklahoma, but are specific to our region in the US called Tornado Alley. When you drive around our hometown, one thing you see all over are large poles with massive sirens on top of them. These are called tornado sirens, and the most common use that we know them best for are if tornadoes are spotted in the area, the sirens are blasted to alert everybody to seek shelter. They sound similar to an air raid siren that you may have heard in movies, and typically a single siren can be heard about 1.5 kilometers to a little over 3 kilometers away. Because of this, they are spread out all over our metropolitan areas, one about every square kilometer and a half, and are a normal part of our landscape.
However, we just learned that tornado sirens are not just for tornadoes, and that was not even their original use. Tornado sirens actually were originally put up during the Cold War as warnings in case of nuclear attack, and then in the 1970s, they began to be used for other warnings. Today, they can signal large hail, high winds, and of course what we know them best for, tornadoes. Another unintentional use for the sirens is that they are a timekeeper. Maybe you have heard of the 1 o'clock gun in Edinburgh Castle or St. Mary's trumpet call in Krakow, but in Oklahoma, we have the noon Saturday tornado siren. Our tornado sirens are tested every single day silently, but then also every Saturday at noon if there is no severe weather threat, so we know that it's just a test. Because of that, we all know when we hear all the sirens on Saturday, it's noon and it's time for lunch.
When we hear the tornado sirens and there is severe weather happening, what do we do? Well, growing up, we simply would just run to the most interior room in our home, and our parents would put helmets on us and throw pillows over us just in case. But a lot of homes also have tornado shelters in them, and that is our second thing that we do not see in Germany. Tornado shelters come in all shapes, sizes, and types, like above ground, underground, in the home, or outside the home, just as a few examples. These are not fancy, and they don't need to be considering they just have one purpose. It basically is just a reinforced hole in the ground that you climb into and lock the door at the top. Because it isn't common to have basements in Oklahoma, a lot of homes will at least have one of these. Just a couple of years ago, my family for the first time had one dug in my parents' garage floor, and it basically Again, it's just a reinforced room underground that is about 2 meters tall and can fit about 5 to 6 people sitting side by side. When we were dating, Aubrey's family had one similar to it in their garage floor, and my family would sometimes go over there when we had severe weather, just in case we would need shelter.
Many offices, like the corporate office Donnie worked at or the hospital that I worked at in Oklahoma, also have large reinforced conference rooms that are built to hopefully withstand a tornado. Some homes may also have a reinforced room put in the interior of the home to have as many walls between them and the tornado as possible, but really sometimes the only safe place to be during extremely violent tornadoes is underground. Some may say, well, why don't you just build your houses out of concrete and make the whole building safe? Like they're the first ones to ever think of that. But that is a whole complicated subject that would be for another video. But we'll just say with wind speeds sometimes reaching 450 kilometers per hour to close to 500 kilometers per hour and throwing refrigerators and semi-trucks about, it's just better to get completely out of the way and underground in many cases. Even with a concrete home, there are still very vulnerable points like doors and windows that need to be accounted for, and with the odds of actually getting hit by one being quite low, the much higher cost for that kind of construction often isn't justifiable for most people. We also keep saying it is best to get completely out of the way and underground, and you're probably saying, isn't completely out of the way actually not living in a place frequented with tornadoes? And well, that's also something that we ask ourselves quite often, and we are very happy to not have to deal with that in the spring anymore. But also, neither of us have ever been hit by a tornado, luckily, and again, the odds of actually getting hit by one really are quite low. Not living in Germany, chances of getting hit by a tornado, low, which is possible technically, by the way, but still very low.
The last time we were back in the States, one thing that stuck out to me that I was seeing all over the place and we don't see in Germany is people waving at each other. Now you may be saying, whoa, 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 Germans do wave to one another, but what I mean is every single person waving at every other single person as they pass each other everywhere. Everybody has heard about the famous Southern friendliness and hospitality, and this is just part of that culture. When you're walking by someone, you acknowledge them and say hello. Sometimes you tip your head, sometimes you partially raise your hand, and sometimes you fully wave to them. Even when you are driving, you do the same thing.
And that is when it gets kind of funny to us. This was almost a reverse culture shock moment for us when we were back at home. As we went on walks in our parents' neighborhoods, cars would drive by and we would have no idea who the person was in the car, but we waved at them and they would wave back at us as they passed. Even as we would drive and were passing by another driver, they would wave at us and we would wave back out of instinct. It is even a stereotype where various types of vehicles have their own wave. You have the Jeep wave, the truck wave, the motorcycle wave, and more. If someone is up on their driveway away from the street and you pass by, you wave. If they have their head down gardening and they hear a car come by, they're probably gonna look up and wave. I'm sure the people who like to comment that American friendliness can be creepy already are having uneasy feelings about a creepy Truman Show-esque world, but I don't know. I like it and I like knowing we're all acknowledging each other and trying to show more friendliness in the world. Real quick, we wanted to pause and let you know that we are happy that Skillshare is the sponsor of today's video. If you don't know what Skillshare is already, Skillshare is an amazing online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for you lifelong learners, hobbyists, or working creatives. Skillshare offers classes on anything like knitting, productivity, marketing, video editing, and so much more.
I have been checking out the class DIY Filmmaking, Creating Pro Video with Tools You Already Own by Mark Sersosimo to find ways that we can improve our video production without breaking the bank. Skillshare's classes are offered at any skill level, are ad-free, and they are always launching new premium classes. The first 1,000 people to use the link in our description will get a free trial of a Skillshare premium membership. Even without this deal, Skillshare is less than $10 per month with an annual subscription.
One of the biggest frustrations of living in Germany that we have struggled to cope with and is an object missing in Germany that honestly, we noticed right away and have been trying to recover from ever since, is chocolate chips. Now hear us out. Sometimes chocolate chips can be found in baking sections in grocery stores, but they're different in that they are tiny little microchips, or you will find Schokotrüpfchen, which look like they might be chocolate chips, but they are perfectly domed on top and don't have the important peak on top where they piped them out. You also will find chocolate chunks that can be used, or you can smash up your own chocolate bar to make chunks, but they're still not the same.
So with all the various alternatives, we have managed to survive, but there is something about the specific shape and size of chocolate chips in the US that when you have grown up with those being the staples of chocolate chip cookies, muffins, cakes, ice creams, etc., everything else is just different and doesn't have the exact same quality. Now, this may be a grossly over-exaggerated comparison to Germans, but one of the main things that we have heard Germans say that they miss when they are away from Germany is bread. Now, we used to hear that and be like, what are you talking about? There's bread everywhere. You can't possibly miss bread when there are so many options in the world outside of Germany. Well, talk to nearly every American in Germany and they will tell you they can't believe they can't find chocolate chips and how much they miss them, even with all of the alternatives. Just like with German bread, it just isn't the same.
One of the most iconic images of Americana is our massive yellow school buses with the red stop sign on the side. These are pretty much the same across the US, although sometimes the shapes may vary ever so slightly. They are a staple in society we see every day as they take kids to and from school, and even on popular American TV shows like The Magic School Bus. In fact, the color school bus yellow is a color that was specifically formulated for use on school buses in North America in 1939, and the color was chosen because it attracts attention and is noticed quickly in peripheral vision faster than any other color. When a school bus is driving around and picking up or delivering children, the red stop sign will flip out when they stop and all traffic has to halt to allow children to embark or disembark and to be able to cross the street safely. School buses in the US are specifically built to be distinguished from other types of buses by law for maximum safety for the children on the bus.
A big reason for having these is that public transportation doesn't exist in most of the US in the quantity or quality, if at all, for children to be able to take to school like in Germany. From what it seems that we have seen and read about school buses in Germany is that there really isn't a standard school bus across Germany like in the US, but instead, most cities or towns will have specific public transportation routes that may be devoted to getting children to and from school. These buses literally are just regular public transit buses and just designate themselves by lighting up the signs on the bus that normally says the route to, say, Schulbus, and a yellow background. Also, instead of a red stop sign popping out on the sides to stop traffic, they stop and turn on their hazard lights to warn traffic of the children getting on or off the bus. When school transit times are then over, the buses go back to being normal public transportation routes for everybody. Besides that, when I would take the regular train to the closest city to us for my German classes, it was common for large numbers of kids to be on the trains to go to school as well, rather than taking a specific school transportation option.
When we moved to Germany, we of course knew that not everything was going to be the same, and we didn't want it to be. In fact, we have been more surprised at just how much the world has become globalized and similar. Now, when we find these types of differences, we get really excited. It is great that we are all becoming so well connected, but we also love to see what makes us all unique. We hope that you also are interested in seeing the way that we are all the same, but also have fun and unique differences that we can all appreciate.
Let us know in the comments if any of these were new to you or surprised you, and also what things you have only seen in your home country. If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe, and we will see you in our next video.
Tschüss! I was looking up Tina Fey's husband today.
This is day 2 of this video, an attempt to actually get it done. Day 2, outfit 2. We had to go through an outfit change. Her idea, not mine.
No, because of what you had done.
It did nothing.
You did everything.
Okay.
Alright, back up. Many offices, like the corporate office